Hi, and welcome to the Flash Write series of videos that will guide you through the process of writing a short story if you haven't written one before. If you have written one before, you're more than welcome to contribute to our project and our collection. It'd be great to hear from you. But really, this series of videos is designed just to guide people who are unsure about the process or who want to review their process and develop their short story writing. I guess first I should introduce the project. The idea for this was to produce or collect and curate a series of short stories that reflected something about our communities, particularly at this time. And we thought it would be almost like a time capsule of different views of our communities and different experiences, hopefully from a variety of ages and backgrounds as well. So we're hoping to hear from many, many different people. And in fact, I would love to hear from people, particularly who have never written a short story before and have always wanted to write one. So I really encourage you to do get writing if you haven't written a short story before. It's not really that scary. Flash fiction is, I think, something that is really interesting because it forces you as a writer to focus on a very short, very brief, and often powerful story. Flash fiction story is something usually around 1,000 words or less. We're going to go up to 1,500 words. If you go over 1,500 words, anything from 1,500 to 6 or 7,000, you're looking at sort of a classic short story. You can these days too get fiction called microfiction, which is even shorter than 1,000 words. But I think, particularly if we're trying to capture something about our local community, something around 1,500 words or less gives you time to develop the idea, but focus on something very particular. Even though the word limit is 1,500 for this particular collection, you are um, more than welcome to write something less than that. 500 words would be fine, 800 words would be fine as well. But I guess the purpose is to write something very brief and very impactful. In other videos, I will talk more about process, but I guess for the first one, I wanted to talk about how you start writing. Many people do falter at the start and they're not sure how to start. What I used to do when I first started writing was I would write down a series of ideas and leave them for a day or two and come back to the ideas if I had a few and see which one I thought particularly jumped off the page after any given time. I didn't necessarily always know how they were going to end or how they were going to develop, but if the idea really struck me, and that might be the idea for the end of a story, I might not even be sure how to begin the story. It might be the idea for an amazing beginning, but I wasn't sure exactly where to go with it. I would pick the idea that really leapt off the page to me at that particular time, something that inspired me. And it might be because of something going on in the world, a feeling I had that particular week, but something that would get me to start putting words on paper. My advice too, and we will talk about process as I said in other videos, my advice for this particular video is to actually just start writing. People often have trouble with what's often called writer's block, or because they're not sure exactly where the story's going, they falter and hesitate and they're not sure where to go. I would say these days, particularly with word processors and computers, is you just need to start writing. And remember that you might write 2,000 words and you might end up only using 500 of that in a final draft, and that's fine. If you cut stuff from a story and you don't use it, you can archive it and use it for a future story. But the best thing is to just write, and just remember that people are not going to see your first draft. And often stories can be drafted 3 or 4 times before they see the light of day, and even then revised again. And I will talk a lot about editing, so I think that's particularly important. I know for lots of my poetry and short stories that they're drafted usually at least 4 times. Some of them quite dramatic edits where I cut a lot of stuff out. Some edits can be fine tuning and tweaking and thinking about things, but editing is really, really important. And the final video will talk about the importance of about editing and some tips and tricks to do that. and I'd love to hear your tips and tricks for editing as well. But I think that will do for our first video, and I will come back with a next video that will talk about how to begin our story and the debate about plot versus character, which is one that if you've written before or read about writing, you've probably heard about. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope that you enjoy writing, and let me know how you go. See you next time.